Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a mess of complex information and turn it into something actionable, something you can really remember. Today, we are strapping in because we're diving into the world of virtual professional wrestling.
And it is far more dramatic and, honestly, ruthlessly high stakes than anything you're seeing in mainstream sports entertainment right now.
Oh, absolutely. We're looking at a huge shift, kind of a geopolitical earthquake in the Efed landscape.
Yeah.
Specifically, the simultaneous and completely unannounced collapse of Utah Championship Wrestling UCW and the explosive, and I mean dangerous, arrival of Indie Madness Wrestling, or IMW.
And our mission today, it really goes beyond just a simple roster swap.
Right.
We're investigating a high-stakes, almost philosophical migration of talent. We need to figure out why they left what seemed like a professional system, what they're running toward in all this IMW chaos.
And maybe most importantly,
And crucially, the structural reasons why promotions like UCW, despite having good intentions and decent booking, they just inevitably hit this invisible barrier, this glass ceiling.
and we're starting with the immediate hook, because this collapse, it wasn't announced with a press conference or some big final show.
No, not at all.
UCW didn't get a grand finale. It just imploded. A slow-motion failure that suddenly hit the gas. The sources suggest that the bankruptcy hasn't even been officially announced yet, but the impact is already obvious.
You see it in the talent exodus, the vacated titles.
And insiders, especially one former heavyweight champion, they saw the writing on the wall long, long before the public knew the game was over.
And that's really key to understanding how volatile this whole scene is. A traditional company, it has legal processes, it drags out its own death.
Right.
But an Efed, a virtual company that exists on shared lore and upload schedules, it just stops uploading. And according to our source material, people like Albert Alexander and others deep inside that UCW machine, they were seeing crippling signs of instability for a while. It was a structural decay, not some sudden meteor strike.
Okay, let's unpack that. The structural instability of UCW. What were those early symptoms that tipped off the talent that the company was, spiraling?
It was both administrative and creative.
Yeah.
And it all just manifested as this pure operational exhaustion. The sources call it burnout energy.
Burnout energy. What does that look like?
Well, you hear about inconsistent communication. Match formats would change week to week, or long-term plans would get approved and then just abandoned.
So creators are putting in hours of work.
Exactly. For segments that get postponed indefinitely or just scrapped. And that, of course, leads to creative uncertainty. The talent loses faith that the storylines they're investing in will ever actually pay off.
So it's not just low morale, it's a systemic waste of creative energy. Is it just fewer uploads, or is it deeper than that?
It's more insidious. It means low-effort creative. The details start slipping. When creators are constantly fighting all this confusion, they pull back their emotional investment. You start to see frustration leaking into posts or their characters' social media.
Right.
UCW, their whole goal was to feel legitimate, and that stability, it worked for a time. But they completely failed to cultivate a truly compelling central narrative.
You mentioned they lacked an anchor storyline. What does that mean, and why was that so fatal?
So UCW had good structure. They had a clear hierarchy, rules, a title lineage, all that.
The skeleton was there.
The skeleton was there, but structure without a central, undeniable conflict, an anchor, it's fragile. An anchor storyline is that defining rivalry or concept that gives gravity to the entire promotion.
Like Stone Cold versus McMahon, that gave context to literally everyone else on the roster.
Precisely. UCW never established that defining why are we here conflict. So when the internal fatigue hit, when communication broke down and the burnout took hold,
There was no pillar to hold it all up.
there was nothing. It caused the whole Fed to collapse, not with some massive war, but without a grand finale. Just dissolved. Which is, ironically, the worst way to be remembered.
That's a powerful distinction. They built a solid house but forgot the foundation. And right before that final collapse, it was marked by a title vacancy crisis. It shows the whole organization was already falling apart from the inside.
Exactly. They were trying to finalize legacies before the lights went out.
It was a scramble for relevance.
A total scramble. You had the Prince Alex Cement win the vacant UCW North American Championship in that critical five-way war. That match, in hindsight, just a tragic timestamp.
He cemented his name.
But he did it by winning a title whose historical line was already broken. He confirmed his legacy in what became the final chapter of a dead book.
And then there's Albert Alexander. The sources detail him beating Marcus Amber Dennis for the vacant UCW Men's Heavyweight Championship. He becomes the final, undisputed champ,
Right at the top.
just days before he makes his own decision to bail.
His win put him at the very pinnacle of the promotion, even as that promotion was crumbling right under his feet. But the true volatility, it wasn't just in the titles being vacated.
No.
It was in these high-profile, aggressive, just unstable moments that suggested the champions knew the system was broken and they were ready to lash out.
Which brings us to the NWF talk show invasion, a massive, aggressive moment that was basically the final destructive public act of UCW's last champion. What happened there?
This was Albert Alexander, the reigning UCW World Heavyweight Champion, invading the NWF talk show EP1, hosted by Mr. Rick Rock.
Wow. Okay.
He was uninvited, it was hostile, deeply confrontational. It was basically a bizarre manifesto.
So he didn't just walk in to promote a match.
No. He walked in, held up the UCW title, and declared it represented the heart of the business. He said it was for the people tired of NWF's optimized machines.
So he wasn't just defending UCW, he was attacking NWF's very polished, corporate, structured approach. He's saying UCW is the real core of the business.
And that NWF stars weren't being stolen by UCW, they were escaping to us. Because NWF was too sterile.
That's a bold claim.
It's a bold rhetorical frame, but the confrontation got really volatile when Mr. Rick Rock zeroed in on Sifu.
Sifu, the wrestler who'd been dealing with a string of injuries.
The very one.
Yeah.
And its message was just brutal, clinical, no compassion. It just showed the destructive mindset he'd adopted. He called Sifu a glitch in the system.
A glitch.
A nobody. And then he flat out stated, and this is a direct quote, "The fans do not care about your medical bills."
Wow. That's a direct shot at the guy's personal story. But then it became physical, didn't it?
It escalated instantly to Rick Rock. With his classic arrogance, he ends with this chilling statement. "Get off my set before I have Nikita delete you himself."
Nikita being his enforcer.
His enforcer, his handler, yeah. And this wasn't just a threat of a beating, it was a threat of total character erasure, operational destruction. And that moment just showed the extreme confrontational attitude that embraced right at the very end. He was willing to burn every bridge and destroy reputations on his way out because, in his mind, the system already deserved to fall.
The establishment was failing him, so he was ready to choose danger over stability.
Exactly.
And that choice is the next crucial piece here. Albert Alexander leaving UCW while he's still the reigning heavyweight champion.
This is maybe the most symbolic departure of the entire virtual wrestling exodus.
Yeah.
And the source material is very clear on this. It wasn't about money or ego or betrayal.
It was up control.
Fundamentally about control and legacy management.
But hold on a second. If he's so sharp, wouldn't walking away from the main title of a major promotion look, well, weak? Isn't there a risk that IMW just looks like a second-rate refuge for failed champs?
And that's the crucial question, isn't it? Usually a champion leaves because they've been beaten or demoted.
Right.
Albert made a proactive philosophical choice. By the end of UCW, he realized being champion didn't mean he was the center of the organization.
It meant he was tethered to a dying body.
Perfectly put. There was no clear long-term direction, no defining rival that mattered. The belt itself was losing its gravity because the promotion couldn't guarantee its own future.
So his realization wasn't that the belt was holding him back, but that he was holding something that might disappear tomorrow.
Yes.
He saw the nightmare scenario of being remembered as the last guy holding a dead belt.
Precisely. The belt's prestige was still there, but its inherent power, its gravity, was collapsing because of UCW's instability. He recognized that if UCW went under, that legacy, being the final holder of a meaningless prize, was an unacceptable outcome for someone who defines himself by dominance.
So he chose to define the end of the belt, rather than letting the belt define his ending.
He used his title, the most prestigious thing in the company, as a prop in his final act of self-determination. He walked away on his own terms.
And that choice led him straight to IMW.
Which offered him exactly what UCW couldn't anymore. Danger, truth, and genuine stakes. In IMW, there are no empty promises of legitimacy. There's just immediate volatile survival.
I could see the appeal. IMW didn't promise him a safe run as champion. It promised chaos and a level playing field.
Absolutely. In IMW, Albert Alexander is not the champion. He's explicitly described as just another body until he proves otherwise.
Wow.
And for someone who wants to define himself through confrontation, that stripping away of perceived power is described as intoxicating. He shed the burden of a dead belt for the raw exhilaration of the unknown.
That is profound. The act of leaving the belt behind on purpose. It wasn't just disrespect. It was a statement. This fragile title doesn't define me. My ability to survive chaos does.
And that act instantly boosted IMW's credibility. It associated them with a champion who willingly gave up power for danger. He exposed UCW's terminal illness just by walking away.
He's no longer a stable technician. He's an unpredictable force.
Exactly. Albert is now the man who walked away from comfort, choosing danger, believing that titles are temporary, but the damage he inflicts is permanent.
So what's his new persona look like inside IMW? How does he fit into this survival wrestling world?
He's arrived as the arrogant heel, the indie king. He's still got that Euro-accented aristocratic thing going on, but now it's paired with this vicious technical cockiness.
So he trash talks.
Oh yeah, trash talks in broken English to get under people's skin. His signature is the King's Decree, a brutal German suplex bridge. It emphasizes both his technical skill and his arrogance.
And he's already made a mark?
He was an Episode 1 survivor in their inaugural Chaos, which gave him immediate credibility. And he is already eyeing the Worldwide Championship throne held by Triple R. He's not rebuilding, he's reloading, and he's aiming for the single most important prize in this volatile new world.
Okay, let's talk about that destination, Indie Madness Wrestling. IMW didn't do the normal hype videos or long previews. According to the sources, it just showed up.
Yeah, it was a shock to the system.
It feels raw, dangerous, and just unapologetically anti-sports entertainment. It exists whether you approve of it or not.
And where UCW was focused on, institutional legitimacy, and NWF on this very structured, layered storytelling.
IMW went for immediate, abrasive reality.
Their philosophy is simple and brutal. No introductions, no apologies, just fights. And that identity is the key to their immediate buzz. It instantly separates them from the two established leaders who are, frankly, trapped by their own polish.
And that buzz is built on their core philosophy, which they call survival wrestling. What are the specific rules that make IMW so dangerous?
The rules are designed for maximum volatility and minimum fluff. First, it is intergender by default.
Meaning men and women compete freely against one another.
With the same intensity and the same consequences. This is not novelty booking. This is fundamental equality of violence.
That immediately raises the stakes, the unpredictable nature of it all. What about how the matches end?
Second, eliminations are KO only.
KO.
This is a major strategic pivot. In a standard match, you can win with a cheap roll-up, a quick submission. In IMW, you have to genuinely incapacitate your opponent.
So the stakes of every single move are just higher.
Drastically. A finishing maneuver has to be truly devastating. It forces wrestlers to focus on lasting damage, not quick wins.
So we're seeing longer, more physically destructive matches?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Third, there are minimal promos.
Mm-hmm.
The focus is entirely on physicality. Characters are defined by their actions, not long speeches. And finally, and this is the big one, no safety net booking.
No safety net booking. That's the most terrifying aspect, I think. What does that actually look like?
It means every match genuinely feels like if you mess up, maybe your career is over.
Right. In a structured Fed, if a star loses, there's a plan for redemption, a new angle.
Not here. In IMW, if you get knocked out, you are, for that moment, irrelevant. And that tone is entirely intentional. It creates this palpable sense of real moment-to-moment risk that structured Efeds often lose.
The talent has to be aggressive just to survive.
They have to be. And this combination of rules and tone gives IMW this really unique visual and tonal mix.
Yeah, the sources suggest a strange blend of aesthetics.
It's fascinating because the rules contrast with the setting. The exterior, based on the images we have, looks like a large venue. Tiered seating, balconies. It has this kind of golden era vibe.
Like a classic, prestigious arena.
But the internal experience, the KO-only rules, the violence, the intergender matches, the raw production, it feels absolutely like an ECW-style indie wrestling show.
So it's vintage prestige hosting modern chaos.
The look of stability with the soul of volatility.
And at the center of all this chaos is the Worldwide Championship. The sources are clear. One belt, and it's central to everything.
It's the ultimate prize because there's no complicated tournament structure, no secondary titles, no promotional machine to get through. It's purely about who's still standing when the smoke clears.
You don't talk your way into a challenge.
You outlast people. You survive the champion. It's not about building a long legacy yet. It's about sheer physical survival. That singular focus makes the champion an immediate and terrifying figure to everyone.
Speaking of terrifying, Let's talk about the man holding that championship. Triple R, Rickolas Russell Randy. He sounds like a true force of nature.
He is the definition of a dominant, almost supernatural figure. Triple R is a 7-foot black Irish phenom.
Wow.
He's described as an Undertaker-like monster with an ominous presence that just silences the venue when he walks out. He doesn't need to yell. His size and his slow, deliberate movement command respect.
And he's proven it in the ring.
Oh, yeah. He outlasted the Episode 1 Battle Royal, and he severely battered the challenger Siaka in Episode 2. He's a tweener monster heel. The fans fear him, but they have to respect the undeniable fact that he's the most dominant force in this environment.
Does this giant have any weaknesses? Anything the roster might be able to exploit in a KO-only world?
He does, and it's this brilliant little psychological nuance built into his character, a vertigo weakness for high drama.
Vertigo.
He hesitates on ladders on the top rope.
Yeah.
While he's an unstoppable giant on the mat, you put him in a high-risk, high-elevation scenario, and he can be exploited.
That's critical in IMW, where tables and high-risk dives are common.
Exactly. How does a champion who defines himself by pure, brutal dominance handle a psychological weakness like vertigo? That's his central narrative vulnerability. His signature move, the Vertigo Chokeslam KO, even plays into it, delivered in a way that minimizes his need to be high up.
Okay, now I get to the core of this exodus. IMW clearly attracts wrestlers who were overlooked or who actively chose not to fit in. The sources see this random roster as a mystery cast, where anyone can rise.
That's right.
Let's deep dive into who made the jump, starting with the female talent from UCW. How did they reinvent themselves for this mandate of danger and truth?
We see some radical character shifts here, people shedding their professional pasts to embrace the IMW chaos. It's about psychological survival.
First up, Foxy Francine Lazara. She seems to have transitioned from an implied former name, Foxy Fane.
Which suggests a more, generic, family-friendly wrestler.
Right, to this new persona, the Party Fox Chaos Queen.
The shift is from standard character to pure volatility. Foxy realized that in a world of chaos, being remembered means being distracting and devastating.
So what does that look like?
She's a tweener party heel, vibrant, distraction-heavy entrances, tail-waving, confetti that lull opponents into a false sense of security. The party is a facade for the brutality.
But she can go in the ring.
Oh yeah, she's a high flyer with serious chops. Her signature move is the tailspin moonsault. She lost to Billy Blade in Episode 2, but she immediately established herself as a feral, dangerous force. Her strategy is chaos as camouflage.
Then there's Amanda Pontarelli. She went from just Pontarelli to the full Amanda Pontarelli, embracing a highly controversial, weaponized identity.
Her new identity is defined by her controversial, former porn star reinvention past, which she openly uses for psychological warfare. She is a heel provocateur.
So she gets in their heads.
Unflinching stares, no-sell grit, brutal street fight strikes. Her signature move, the mind game low blow into powerbomb, emphasizes that combination. She uses psychological manipulation. The low blow is cheap and infuriating to set up a devastating physical finisher.
She sounds tough.
Incredibly athletic and ready for chaos, especially in multi-woman scenarios where emotional warfare is key.
Okay, moving to the men. We have a big contingent of NWF exiles who are hungry for revenge. Kurt Tiger Bombshells is a great example. His three-fed journey really highlights the desperation here.
Kurt Bombshells' path is proof of how desperate some talent were for stability, only to have it ripped away again and again.
He started in NWF as Kurt Boswell.
And was released when they deemed him obsolete. He went to UCW looking for that stability, but then had to leave that promotion when it folded.
And now, in IMW, he's Kurt Tiger Bombshells.
And he is fueled by system betrayal. He sees IMW as his last, best chance to prove that the structured systems were wrong to let him go.
And he's fully embraced the animalistic side. He's a heel beast now, a striped powerhouse with tiger wars and clawing motions.
And he's already been involved in controversy that fuels his narrative. He teamed with Nigel in Episode 2, and he was robbed by a rope break pin, a system failure.
So that just gives him more fuel.
Immediately. He's demanding payback for being cheated by the system, whether that's NWF's management, UCW's collapse, or the referees in an IMW tag match. His signature is the crushing tiger bomb, a sit-out power bomb that is just pure animalistic power.
Next, we have Malcolm Mooney, who had one of the most extreme character pivots in this whole exodus. His former NWF identity was Mr. Moon.
This is a truly fascinating and kind of disturbing narrative arc. It says a lot about the toxicity of that structured EFED environment. Malcolm Mooney was a top star in early NWF, but he never quite won a major title.
And his story took a bizarre turn.
A very bizarre public turn when he peed himself during a match and ran away. And NWF, looking for high drama, tried to exploit this.
Yeah, that led to a gimmick where he had to explain his mental health struggles and the toxic environments he was dealing with. It sounds like they were trying for deep storytelling, but maybe it was just too heavy or too exploitative.
Absolutely. So the trauma and perceived weakness in NWF led to a total reinvention in IMW.
He's Malcolm Mooney now.
Dressed in dark blue and black, a defined face character, he's become a silent killer who wants justice in IMW. This is someone actively trying to shake off public embarrassment and weakness by embracing silence, action, and undeniable physical strength.
He went from a mental health storyline victim to a seeker of justice through brutal survival.
IMW allows him to define himself, not his past trauma.
Who else is part of this NWF exile contingent?
We have Nigel the Redeemer, formerly Nigel the Redeemer Reams, another NWF release carrying that resentment. He's a tweener dark face, a sort of preacher anti-hero.
Black robes, sermons.
Intense sermons before delivering brutal justice. His signature is the redemption rite, a crucifix bomb. And like Kurt, he is fuming over that Episode 2 tag team loss, fueling his anti-establishment sermons.
And two more experienced exiles.
Yeah.
Robert Roosevelt and Ultimo Paragon Ryan. They seem like more traditional wrestling archetypes.
Robert Roosevelt is the grizzled babyface vet, a road warrior who explicitly jumped indies over creative differences. He's the old guard who still prioritizes wrestling authenticity.
He's got it.
He and Jason stole a tag win in Episode 2, showing that experience and cunning still matter here. His signature is the Roosevelt Roughhouse, a decisive spinebuster.
And Ultimo Paragon Ryan.
He's the babyface paragon, a masked luchador, the ultimate hero type. He's a contrast to the Chaos. Known for aerial flips, honorable behavior, technical holds, his presence suggests IMW isn't entirely without honor. His signature is the Paragon Plunge, a top rope Hurricane Rana.
So IMW isn't just a refugee camp. It has its own homegrown talent defining the experimental core of the promotion. Who are the originals?
4 key homegrown stars. And they're essential to understanding IMW's bizarre experimental nature. First, the Blueprint. Siaka Sears, a pure babyface mad scientist.
A mad scientist who uses gadget experiments. That sounds like something that would be immediately shut down in the structured world of NWF.
That's precisely why he thrives here. He wears a lab coat, uses smoke bombs, electrified chairs, strange potions. He represents the strategic experimental side of IMW, someone testing the limits of chaos.
And he's credible.
Very credible. He pushed the champion Triple R to the absolute limit in the Episode 2 main event. He fell short, but he is raging for a rematch. His signature is the Blueprint Shock, a gadget DDT that delivers a shocking knockout.
Then there's Jason Light, who carries the legacy.
Jason is the babyface prospect, a second-generation firebrand, son of TWE legend Alamo Gloam. He's got a chip on his shoulder, needing to prove himself despite his famous name.
So he's fighting his father's shadow.
Exactly. He uses high-flying legacy moves, and his signature is the King of Swing. He teamed with Roosevelt to get that Episode 2 tag win, so he's learning fast.
And the final two, who represent the internal volatility. Dr. Perry Jacobs and Billy Blade.
Dr. Perry Jacobs is the Egyptian split-personality powerhouse. He has half-face paint, representing a Jekyll and Hyde situation. One side is a regal pharaoh, the other is a deranged doctor.
Wow.
He delivers brutal power slams mid-switch. You never know which personality is coming out to finish the match. His signature is the Jacobs Jolt. And finally, Billy Blade, the babyface punk rock rebel. Spiked hair, leather jackets, pure, unfiltered chaos.
She likes weapons matches, right?
Specializes in anti-authority dives through tables. She beat the newly reinvented Foxy in Episode 2, and her signature is the Blade Runner, a rebound lariat focused on speed and impact.
So that roster confirms it. IMW is built specifically from people who don't fit the mold. But this brings us to the big picture question. If UCW and NWF had stable structures and creative booking, why do they still hit a glass ceiling? Why can't they break through?
This is the practical visibility problem that IMW is trying to solve. Most Efeds fail to break out, not because their booking is bad, but because they have a visibility problem. And that creates a glass ceiling.
Constraints like a lack of a real audience gateway? What does that look like?
It means you're stuck in a digital echo chamber. Most Efeds exist exclusively in niche communities, Discord servers, Reddit threads. There is no bridge to viewers who aren't already inside that loop.
So you can have amazing storytelling, but if people have to actively seek out your little corner of the internet, you can't grow.
Exactly. UCW collapsed because it lacked that external hook, and NWF, despite its great characters, is still limited to the established EFED fans.
They built a perfect machine that no one could get into. And the second constraint, no simple entry point.
Right. Mainstream entertainment is successful because it's easy to get into. You can jump into a show midway and get the core conflict. EFEDs usually demand you watch dozens of episodes and understand years of lore.
So you're saying I can't just jump in on episode 20 and know what's going on?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Need to know why Malcolm Mooney had his incident, why Kurt Bombshells hates NWF. That high barrier to entry immediately creates a ceiling that prevents casual discovery.
And crucially, the lack of external narrative hooks, no viral clips or hot takes that travel outside of the fan community.
Mainstream wrestling thrives because the media talks about it. Viral moments happen on Twitter or TikTok. EFEDs almost never generate those, "Did you see this?" clips that get shared. If your best work isn't getting shared outside your Discord, you stall out.
So how is IMW's raw, dangerous identity a practical, strategic solution to break through the ceiling?
IMW's identity is built as a pragmatic solution to all these problems at once. First, it has a simple, brutal identity. One belt, KO only, intergender. You don't need a long backstory to understand that that looks dangerous and cool.
It's instantly different.
And that aesthetic clarity leads directly to high shareability. IMW focuses on creating content that is naturally viral. Surprise KOs, brutal intergender war moments, the giant champion getting up after a devastating blow. These are moments people share even if they hate wrestling,
So they can cut short, memeable clips for social media?
and pull in eyes from a broader audience. It's the gateway they need. And it also provides a low barrier for entry. You don't need 30 episodes of lore. You catch one brutal KO clip, see the title change, and you're instantly hooked.
Which brings us to the most unique part of their strategy, the aesthetics of the illusion, the scripted sport.
Yes, it's an intentional embrace of their limitations that turns technical shortcomings into narrative strengths.
Jin, we know this whole ecosystem is built on the WWE 2K25 game. Let's talk about the platform constraints because they're substantial.
The sources outline a laundry list of frustrations: persistent bugs, visual glitches, clipping,
Recycled gameplay.
heavy microtransactions, locked content, unstable online servers. These are major constraints for anyone trying to run a high-polished, structured fed like UCW or NWF. You're constantly fighting the buggy limitations of the game to make it look professional.
But IMW doesn't fight them.
It leverages them. They treat the limitations as a feature, not a bug. They use intentional, low-quality external tools like CapCut for editing, AI voices, and AI songs to craft an illusion that this is a raw, actual pro wrestling show.
Okay, wait. I need a deeper explanation of that. How does intentional bad quality actually enhance the sense of danger? Why does a jittery cut or an AI voice make it feel more real?
It's all about psychological framing. High production quality signals safety, polish, corporate control like NWF.
Okay.
Low intentional bad quality, the CapCut cuts, the slightly distorted AI voices, even using a game bug like a momentary clipping error. It mimics the aesthetic of an unauthorized leak or a low-budget underground stream. It feels less like a polished product and more like something raw, chaotic, and therefore dangerous.
So they're not trying to hide that it's a video game. They're highlighting the limitations to make the final product feel more raw. That's an incredible meta level of storytelling.
It truly is a scripted sport.
Wow.
The unpolished production quality enhances the sense of unpredictable danger. You're watching Create A wrestlers, but the aesthetic choices make you feel like you're watching unauthorized footage that could stop at any moment. That authenticity of disruption is what sets them apart. If UCW died trying to be too polished and failing, IMW is succeeding by being authentically unpolished.
This has been a whirlwind. If we bring it back to the central tension, it all hinges on Albert Alexander, the professional champion who recognized the structural failure of UCW, the burnout, the lack of an anchor, the collapse, and he chose IMW because it promised truth.
And a path to legacy defined purely by fighting on his terms.
He refused to fail with the promotion. He chose to redefine his survival elsewhere.
And that choice is highly risky, which is the nature of IMW itself. Its strength is its unpredictability, its simple, brutal identity, its ability to attract viral attention.
But its weakness is that same volatility.
Exactly. Because IMW doesn't need long-term stability to feel legitimate. It also lacks the infrastructure to survive a sustained downturn or creative fatigue.
Meaning if they hit that inevitable creative wall, there's no safety net.
None. If leadership disappears or if IMW hits a period of burnout, It won't slowly decline like UCW did. If IMW ever dies, it will collapse instantly, just like UCW, but louder.
It's designed to be a firework.
And fireworks don't last forever, but while they burn, they demand attention.
That is a chilling final analysis. They chose a beautiful, volatile death over a slow, quiet fade. But let me leave you with this thought, connecting this niche world of Efeds to the broader landscape of content creation. If IMW succeeds in using simplicity, viral brutality, and an intentionally unpolished aesthetic to break that glass ceiling, something the structured promotions couldn't do, does this foreshadow a wider shift in entertainment? Are we moving toward a model where raw, mysterious, user-generated content, leveraging the imperfections of its platform, triumphs over the polished, heavily structured systems of the past?
That's a great question.
What kind of content are you more likely to remember? The consistent, safe product or the dangerous show that feels like it could disappear tomorrow? Think about that one.